You've mentioned a couple times now this period of your life where you went plant-based. How far back does that go?
Yeah, so
And what type of plant-based are we talking? Vegan, vegetarian? And then what brought you out of it?
so it started off, I mean, I guess like a lot of young females or whatever, you get to sort of late teens, early 20s. It's an animal thing. I'm a massive animal lover. And I just thought, oh, I don't want to be eating animals. I mean, I was really ignorant then in terms of the role that ruminants play in the whole sort of ecosystem. So it was just this kind of, I don't want to be eating animals. You know, what anyone else does is up to them. I wasn't one of those sort of militant veggies. And I just found sort of more and more through college, we call it college. I went to Cambridge University and they have different colleges. More and more through college, it's kind of like, I don't want to eat animals. And you're quite poor as a student anyway, so it actually saves you a bit of money. But then you find you're having a croissant for breakfast instead of eggs, or a ready meal instead of a steak and some salad or whatever. So you start getting into some poor habits straight away. Um, Through a lot of my all of my 20s, then it was kind of vegetarian. And then I went to a Western Price conference in 2010 and saw Sally Fallon Morell present on vitamins and the fact that there's an animal form of vitamins and there's a plant form of vitamins. And I had no idea. I mean, why would I know that? You don't get taught nutrition in school. Doctors don't get taught nutrition. They have 7 years at medical school over here. Doctors have contacted me to say we had half a day of nutrition in that 7 years. I mean, they don't know any of what I present at conferences in terms of what is food and where do you find nutrients and all the rest of the things. So she was talking about particularly vitamin A coming in two forms. There's retinol, which is the form that the body wants, and that's what you get in animal foods. And then there's carotene, which is in plant foods. That's what you might get in carrots or whatever. And people assume that you can convert from one to the other. I didn't assume. I hadn't even thought about it. I had went veggie. I had absolutely no idea what nutrients do I need, why do I need them, where do I find them. Trust me, that does not enter your head. The day that you go veggie, you just decide, oh, I don't want to be eating animals anymore. You have not a clue why you eat and what you're about to do to your health. And I'd had a couple of eye operations, and suddenly realized that they were completely unnecessary because while I was mostly vegetarian, there was a period around 98, 99 where I had lapsed into veganism. I started dating someone who I hadn't kind of realized was vegan. And I don't really cook. So he'd put something in front of me every night, and I'm like, oh, great, I'll eat this. And then you suddenly realize when you look back, there was no eggs or dairy in it at all. So I'd actually kind of gone vegan at that time. So the first thing that pulled me out of the veganism, which actually after the eye operations kind of started me back on a healthier path, was I was HR director at a London company at the time, and someone approached me and said, I've got this little coffee stand and I'd like to set one up in your canteen because we were a pretty big business and it will stop your staff going out to, I mean, I don't even think we had, that many competitions locally. We were in quite a sort of industrial area. I think it'd be really popular with your staff. And it was. I mean, it was just fantastic coffee. You could have your espresso, your latte, or whatever. So I started having lattes quite regularly. And of course, that was getting me some animal foods back. And even though that's not the richest source of retinol, there was enough in it to start me down the route of getting some actual retinol back into my diet. Um, Surprising number of people don't convert carotene to retinol. Apparently, diabetics are very poor converters, and clearly, I'm a poor converter. And if only my eye surgeon, when I walked in, had said, "Okay, young female, they're neurotic." He should have said, "Something's changed. For you to walk in with a really unusual eye condition, something's changed. So what has changed? Have you changed your diet maybe?" And then I've gone, "Oh yeah, probably." Why didn't he know anything about retinol and the key nutrient that your eye needs? What are you doing being an eye surgeon when you don't even know what retinol is or where it's found, or asking your patients, have you done anything to cut off your supply of retinol recently? I mean, it's just criminal. how little is known by the medical profession. And I was listening to Sally Fallon Morell, and it was just like, oh my goodness, I never needed 2 eye operations. I just needed to eat properly. And then I heard a presentation by Barry Groves, and he did a brilliant presentation. You might be able to find it on the internet somewhere, called Homo Carnivorous. And it was man is a carnivore animal. And he was going through the gorilla digestive system, the cow digestive system, how we're much more akin to a sort of omnivore digestive system, and why we need to be eating animal foods as part of our omnivore diet. And I went home and said to hubby, that's it. I'm not veggie anymore. Get cooking the steak. And he was very happy, obviously, because he was doing 2 meals every night for 10 years, poor guy. So that all stopped.
So you mentioned these different forms of vitamins depending on if they're from plant or animal, and specifically you got into the retinol. What other things do vegans need to be wary about that they're missing out on? And
Loads.
then I want to take it the other way where things they might be getting from too many plants that are causing a detriment to their health.
Yeah, I mean, the first one is easy and serious. So if you go through the vitamins, you've got the fat soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K. So A, you want retinol, and that's what animals deliver, and plants deliver carotene. D, you want D3, and you get plants deliver D2. So you're getting the wrong form if you're only eating plants. E, you can get from plant foods, particularly sunflower seeds, interestingly. And then K again, you've got sort of K1, K2. You can get K2 from those sort of fermented foods, but you'll get them more naturally in your sort of dairy products. Go into the water soluble vitamins. The obvious one is B12. That is only found in animal foods. The rest you'll find in other foods, but you won't find them to the extent and in the right balance that you do in, for example, meat or eggs. They're really good for the B vitamins. Go on to minerals, and then you'd expect plants to do well, because minerals are found in foods that come from the trees and the ground. They're actually still more richly found in animal foods, because the animals are processing the minerals for you by grazing on the land and doing the good digestion for you. So the most absorbable form of the minerals, iron, zinc, again come from animal foods. So heme iron, red meat and seafood. Zinc, the most absorbable form, comes from the animal foods. What are the other ones? I mean, your bone nutrients are just so densely found in fish and dairy, as opposed to your plant foods. So there are many, and that's on the micronutrient side. Go back to the macronutrients. Your essential complete proteins are found in animal food. Yeah, you can get the essential amino acid in plant foods, but you've got to start plant combining. And not everybody does. Most people don't even know that they need to do it. And then I've had a look at doing that, or had a look at sort of the composition of chickpeas versus eggs. You end up getting too much of some things and not enough of others. So you end up getting an imbalance in just a different way. And the essential fatty acids, the body wants omega 3 in the form of EPA and DHA. Flax seeds, for example, will provide ALA. That's not what the body wants. Again, you can convert, but not everybody can. And it's a very, very poor conversion rate. So there really is no substitute for the oily fish, or at least taking the omega-3 supplements. But of course, my vegetarian niece won't take the omega-3 supplements, because she says, well, they come from fish. I'm not putting anything that comes from fish in my mouth. That's your brain. It's not my brain. It's your problem, not mine.
Well, it's interesting. There's this divide in the health space where people that are sick tend to gravitate towards either a carnivore diet or a vegan diet, the
Yeah.
extremes.
Yeah.
And from the outside, it does appear that people heal within both of those realms. And you've just gone over with an all plant diet, the deficiencies. What do you think it is about that diet that people are apparently healing? Is it just because it's so short term? Because it's better, again, than the standard American or
You've got it.
standard Western diet?
Yeah, that's what
I'll
it
have you
is.
take it from there.
Yeah, that's what it is. So if you take anyone who's following the standard American diet or the UK advised diet, and then they go on any whole foods diet, whether it's predominantly animal foods, predominantly plant foods, or a pretty good mix, any move to a whole food diet is going to do the trick. Which is why first thing I say is cut out your processed food. Just get it out of your diet. It's not going to help in any way. You can do quite well then on that plant only. So if you call a vegan diet plant only, it's not having eggs or dairy. You can do okay on that in the short term. It will be until one of the deficiencies catches up with you. So if you do a vegan diet and you supplement well, and if you go on my site and you put in the word veganuary, we have this, I don't know if you have that over there. We have this campaign that happens in January where the Vegan Society is trying to get people to do veganuary, which is go vegan in January. So there's a post on my site where I've got the veganuary own website and I just look at their own information and all the areas where they tell you you're going to be deficient, you need to supplement. So when they're honest with you, they will actually tell you you're going to be deficient in all of those things. So make sure you supplement. So if you've got people who are supplementing well, they can endure it longer. You've still got the problem with the complete protein and the essential fatty acids. Maybe they're good converters of carotene. Maybe they're good converters of ALA essential fatty acids. There will be some people who do better on those diets than others. And you have a lot of vegan influencers that you have loads of followers and look amazing. And then they have to come out one day, and it might be after a year, it might be after 5 years. And they come out with that statement of, guys, I'm really sorry to tell you I've had to go back to eating fish and eggs because I was getting sick and this was happening. And they just get vilified. I mean, their followers aren't kind of like, oh, okay, I understand. I don't want you to die. I don't want you to lose your eyesight. I don't want you to be really unhealthy. They just get attacked. You traitor. I thought you were my sort of vegan hero or whatever. But a lot of people at some point, there are very few people start vegan sort of late teens, early 20s or whatever, and are still vegan at sort of 60, 70. The profile of vegan is very female, very young, and very sort of activist. It's not, sort of 70-year-old male.
Then there's the whole other aspect of the vegan conversation where the part we just talked about is somewhat mainstream, at least people poking holes. But then there's the whole aspect of plant toxins,
Mm.
things like oxalates and lectins and phytates. And there's so many different toxins in that realm that can lock up nutrients and even hinder some of the nutrients if somebody's having an omnivore diet. So it can not only, yeah, block some of what they could have got from some of those animal foods. So, two different sides to this argument that are both not in favor of eating that way.
Yeah. I mean, my go-to on that is Georgia Reed, Dr. Georgia Reed. She's just got a book that's come out on change your diet, change your mind. And it's about the impact that plants can have on our mental health, as well as our whole well-being. So I would defer to Georgia on that one. Personally, they're not a problem for me. I don't I don't find I eat anything and I experience any sort of discomfort in terms of the plants that I do eat. But Georgia has stayed at our house and she'll give you a list before she comes. I asked for one, I want to make sure that I'm giving her stuff that's not going to make her feel bad. And I can't remember what's on the list, but there are some vegetables that are on the list and there are some vegetables that are not on the list. So she's worked out that some vegetables are fine and some vegetables don't work well with her, make her feel unwell, brain foggy, bloated, digestively not happy. But there are also some animal foods that she doesn't do so well on. So fluid dairy, some meats are better than others. People who are very in tune with their health and their body, and people who are more sensitive to certain things. I think my whole digestive system is pretty robust actually, but for some people it's not. And I did a podcast with Anthony Chafee recently, and he was saying, he'd lapsed from carnivore and then gone back to it, and he felt he'd lost a period of his life. He had regret that he hadn't stayed carnivore during that period because he just feels so great now. It's kind of, what a waste that I didn't stay optimally healthy throughout that period. I missed out on those years of just feeling 100%. Um, Within Eat Real Food, there are some individualities, but there's no one who shouldn't eat real food. Anyone who thinks they can have any kind of decent quantity of processed food in their diet and feel great is deluding themselves.
Thankfully, one of the messages that seems to be really perforating through in the health and wellness space is the detriment of seed oils. It seems like no matter what diet in the health space, again, not mainstream yet, hopefully over time, everybody is agreeing that seed oils are toxic, and it's beyond the acute detriment that that is to your health, and they actually stay in your body for years and cause problems. So talk about seed oils and how you look at those.
Well, do you know what? I don't. Again, if someone else has done a great job of a particular topic, I don't feel any need to go and look at it myself. So it's like, thank you, Georgia, you've done plants. You know, Chris Kresser, you did nitrates in bacon or whatever. I don't need. That's the go-to post. A number of good people have looked at seed oil. So Gary Taubes did a lot with his early fat work in articles and then his books. Nina Teicholz, really took it to the right level in Big Fat Surprise. David Gillespie, Toxic Oils, again, has done a great job. So I don't feel I need to look at that. Um, in terms of, what's the worst thing about them? I guess it's the way that we demonize saturated fat and then everyone was, replace it with these highly polyunsaturated fats. I mean, that was just such a bad move, particularly in terms of cooking, because as you say, they stay in the body for a long period of time. When we're cooking with these highly unsaturated, I call saturated fat stable fat, and monounsaturated fat is monostable fat, and polyunsaturated fat is polyunstable fat. So it's many instabilities. And of course, that then mutates at high temperatures. So this whole idea that we stopped cooking fries in lard and then started cooking them in vegetable oils. That's the worst thing we did. The potato isn't the worst bit of the potato fries. It's what we changed to cooking it in. And it mutates at high temperatures and it's likely carcinogenic. It's the stuff that then goes into our, yeah, it effectively turns into a trans fat. So they say, oh, we banned trans fats. We took them out of the food supply. It's like, yeah, and then you tell us to cook in highly unsaturated, unstable oils and just put a different means of trans fats back into our body. I mean, they're just so not good news. And you look at any fake food, it's basically comprised of sugar, flour, and vegetable oils, or seed oils, or plant oils, or whatever people want to call them. But it's those three fake substances, and then they can be molded into ice cream or cookies or donuts. It's the same three ingredients, just in different forms.
If you enjoyed that clip, you're going to want to head over here and catch a full episode. I'll see you over there.
There are no essential carbohydrates whatsoever. None. Zilch, zippo. Telling people to have at least 55% of their diet in the form of the one macronutrient that we don't even need is the starting point that's wrong. You think snacking on an apple is super healthy.